What I do is inconsequential. Why I do what I do is I get to shorten people's journeys every day. What I love about our hospitality industry is that it's our mission to make people feel cared for while on their journeys. Together, we'll explore what hospitality means in the built environment, in business, and in our daily lives. I'm Dan Ryan, and this is Defining Hospitality. This podcast is sponsored by Berman Falk Hospitality Group, a design-driven furniture manufacturer who specializes in custom case goods and seating for hotel guest rooms. Today's guest brings a background of sales and marketing and a history of management experience. He's a regular at travel, hospitality, and tourism events where he speaks about creating more than just experiences for his customers. He's the Executive Vice President and Chief Customer Officer at Hilton Grand Vacations, which is proud to be a great place to work certified company and has recently been honored as one of Newsweek's top most loved workplaces. Ladies and gentlemen, Derek Salvia. Welcome, Derek.
Hey, good afternoon, Dan. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm really excited to talk to you because I'm not sure over the years if I've spoken to anyone from with a vacation ownership point of view. And what's timely about this, I was just hanging out with my son's football team parents, and they were all talking about these, well, not all of them, but like 3 or 4 of them were about these incredible experiences, and they've been longtime timeshare owners. And it's something that I've never done as a person or as a family, because we always like pick up and go and try new different things. And so I was just very intrigued, but like to see them light up as they talk about these memories that they've had over the past 10 to 20 years, it made me a little jealous too, to have that same spot all the time. And I'm excited to dig into that with you. But before we get into it, I just wanted to ask you, what does hospitality mean to you?
You know, hospitality is personal for me. It's something that I think as team members, as an organization, we have to lead with every day, and it's from the heart. A lot of companies, a lot of organizations, not just in this business, just in general, really talk about service. But for me, service is it's just a basic table stake, right? It's what's expected. Hospitality is what we can over deliver on and really make people feel special. And often when I talk about it to my teams, that, you know, it has its root in the Latin word hospice, which is guest, stranger, taking care of people. That's where you get the derivatives of hospitals, hospitality, and, you know, unfortunately for some individuals, hospice, right? But it's all rooted in taking care of people. And so that is a real big thing for our teams.
Vacation ownership is like, it's a unique model within commercial real estate and hospitality. It's part real estate, it's part legacy. How do you, I don't know, educate customers on what makes HGV different from a traditional hotel stay? Because that's really where I saw my friends kind of lighting up talking about these. How, because you hear all different kinds of stories of you get pitched for a timeshare, sometimes not great experiences, but I've never heard from like the bigger players, like the Hiltons and the Marriotts out there. I've not heard a bad experience. So how do you educate your customers and kind of differentiate?
Yeah, you know, look, our brand is powerful, right? With our ties to Hilton Worldwide and our relationship with them. And it's about travel. It's about travel and people enjoying travel and leisure. And we really want to make sure we provide people that next level of travel elevation in their life. So I think vacation ownership takes that step. It's bigger units, bigger accommodations. We have dots all over the world and maps of, you know, our resorts globally now. So it's really great because it provides such a great scale for our vacation ownership owners to experience those things with their family. I mean, you made the comment, right? You have a little bit of envy hearing them talk about their vacations. And we're really proud to let people know that you don't have to come back here every year to the same place. There's so many different destinations and so many additional benefits and experiences we offer. So it's just a step for people to commit to having those experiences with their family.
And I think with Hilton, as they were talking as well, the idea of being able to transfer and be not just be locked into the one place, but at certain times of years, there seemed like a lot of flexibility to whether you wanted to go to the beach, to the mountains. Is it difficult to educate your users or your members about, or your owners, how to get the maximum benefit from it? And what are some like incredible stories that you could share from your experience?
Yeah, sure. So it's there's a lot of great benefits and experiences. So to get that all into one specific period of time frame is pretty difficult. But we have a lot of resources, a lot of stuff on our website and behind the scenes on their login pages. They have a lot of information and access. We do a lot of tutorials. We recently started seminars just to continue to update our members and our owners to make sure they understand what's at their fingertips. And you made a comment about stories. I often meet with members for coffee because look, I could sit behind this desk and send emails and talk to people on the phone, but really what's important to me is getting out and putting faces to the stories. And so many members have told me it's just so different, right? I have members I've met that are younger members with no kids traveling all over the world and experiencing different things, doing short stays multiple times a year. But I've also met families and grandparents that have raised their children, their grandchildren in this industry and in our brand. And that is pretty powerful when you think about it.
Mm. And then as we go through these cycles of real estate, how, from a legacy perspective, how have you seen an investment in a vacation ownership that kind of can weather the storm of real estate cycles, but also, even when I would imagine that when we're in a recession, let's just say, that still having that place that you could still go on a vacation, even if things are pretty tight and it's taken care of, it must be a great way to get people and families through more difficult economic times. Do you have any stories that you can share on that side?
Yeah, I'll actually add on to the economic cycle and talk about some milestones in history that weathered the storm as well, too. When you think about the pandemic, right, or 9/11 many, many years ago, it was an opportunity for us to really see our members come back first and our members to really come get away and use the vacation as a time to decompress and spend time with their families and forget about those things. And the economic cycle is a great point because our members made that commitment most of the time many, many years ago, and they already had their vacations paid for and committed to. So for them, it's just routine of being able to go and travel and take those vacations. And, listen, there's been many articles that have come out over the decades and years about how vacation time and getting away and taking a break from work and life is so healthy for you. So, I hope people realize that, right? It's a great opportunity to rebalance their life and get away from things for a while and focus on their family and the ones they love.
At the beginning, we said, I think it was Newsweek's, one of the most loved places to work was Hilton Grand Vacations, correct?
Sure. Sure.
So one of the people I really look up to in our industry, Danny Meyer, he had the 5 stakeholders in a hospitality experience. And I think that how you put it there, that the act of service is really just table stakes, because obviously you've attracted these great people, you're retaining these great people on your teams. But what do you do outside of the service thing to really make HGV a memorable experience for all of your owners and their families that they bring?
Well, listen, we couldn't talk about hospitality and what that means to people if we didn't share that love and warmth of hospitality with our team members.
Mm.
So it'd be a little naive to say, hey, we want you to go out and really create great experiences and feel that passion and that desire to really impact people when they arrive for their vacation if we're not doing that with our team members. So how do we become one of the greatest places to work and, really bond our culture? It's by sharing hospitality amongst ourselves as well, too. And we talk about it openly, right? We want you to be hospitable to each other and really show each other that care and concern. So that becomes a natural way of living when you're here on property and working. And you deliver that and transcend that into our members and our guests. So their experiences are even amplified even more.
And now, as the EVP of customer experience, how did you get your first, is hospitality something that you always knew you wanted to get into? Or when was your first experience working within hospitality, and what were the hooks that set into you that kept you in it?
It's a great question. I always tell the story. When I think about my first hospitality experience, at 10 years old, I was a paper boy in Staten Island, New York, and I loved it, right? And it was servicing people, right? It was bringing their paper. It was building a relationship with those individuals on my paper route, having to go collect dues, having conversations, and just being different. And then as I got a little bit older in life, I started working in restaurants and I have a food and beverage background, and I don't know, I fell in love with just serving people, right? And in my personal life as well too, I try to share that hospitality with people. And I always say, look, hospitality isn't about the food and beverage or vacation industry. I believe hospitality is a way of living, right? And
Mm.
so, people are hospitable to each other. And so I just gravitated to it. And probably several years ago, really had the awakening of it's in my heart. It's what I like to do. And it's what I like to share with people. And as a team, we work together to think about every day how we get better at it, right? We're not complacent. We don't sit on our laurels, and we don't say, hey, we're good with where we are. No, we're really proud of where we've gotten to, but where are we going to go next?
Mm. Let's pretend there's a family. Let's just pick a place, a suburb of Chicago. They got the lovely Chicago winters they deal with, and they're considering a vacation ownership play for their family and their recharging and their recreation. How do you, when you approach that family, differentiate what Hilton Grand Vacations is all about from the others that are out there? And what can they expect from as far as options? Because I know there's a spectrum of choices that that kind of fit every family, every need. But how do you educate and walk them through that process? And what are the options?
Well, the first thing I'll say is this industry is not for everybody, right? If that were the case, everybody would become a member, and the whole country would be sharing in the timeshare model. But one, you got to make sure you want to spend time together and travel, and you're committed to that. It's got to be something you're focused on as a family, and you want those experiences. And I hope everybody does. And then second, I would say, come see us, right? Come see what we're about. Come stay in one of our units. Come experience one of our properties. Come engage with our team members, and make sure that's where you feel comfortable. And then when you get past those kind of milestones, then you should really let us take the opportunity to educate you on our product and our brand, and share with you what that's all about. And we really want the consumer to determine if they feel HGV is a right fit for them. And there's many different companies out there, right? So they may think another company is a better fit for them, and that's okay. We want to make sure we can meet their expectations, deliver on their expectations, and oftentimes exceed their expectations.
I misstated your title as far as it's Chief Customer Officer, but
it is. I didn't want to jump in there. You were on a roll, so I was like, let's go with it, Dan.
No, but in my mind, like, we're bringing on a VP who's a chief of customer experience. And I think it's a very similar idea, right? It's like putting those customers first and really figuring out how to continue to delight them in some kind of a frictionless way. So when you think of being a chief customer officer, how did that role come to be? Has that role always been part of Hilton Grand Vacations? Where did it come from, and like, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, it's definitely been around a few years before I started, and my predecessor was really great in the role, and taught me a lot individually, personally, and had a really strong hospitality background. But chief customer officer, I would say, is two things. It's you are the face of the customer, right? So when we want somebody to reach out to the customers, engage with the customers, like I mentioned earlier about meeting some of our members who are on property, you really got to understand you are the face of the customer experience. So to me, those two things are interchangeable, but I think chief customer officer is really viewed as the point person to be the liaison between the company and the customer. The customer experiences come on the responsibility to think about every touch point a customer has in our organization, but also how we're developing things to further enrich their value proposition with us.
How do you measure that? How do you know that Hilton Grand Vacations is delivering on all of those things that you just said?
So we have many different ways, and I often speak of these too, right? There's listening posts, me getting out in the area, talking to our customers, talking to our members, talking to our team members too. What are they hearing? What are they seeing? Where can we be better? What can we do better? What do they need to be successful? And then, of course, we use the survey methods, right? We have several different surveys throughout the organization. Post-call surveys when our members call in to get serviced and book their vacations. We have on-property surveys, and I'm proud to say we rank amongst the highest in some of the Hilton brands. And then we have other focus groups and member surveys on service and availability as well. So, we use a lot of different data points. I always caution and guard against just using one sole source of data, because you want to get different slices and different perspectives of, where those customers are in their journey, whether they're being serviced in a call center, whether they're on property, how their experience was when they left, when they went back home, how they're, how they feel about managing their membership, whatever it may be. We want to look at the 360 view of that customer engagement across our platforms.
Mm. And then what year was the first year that you entered into the vacation ownership game?
Oh, it's been a long time. I don't want to date myself, but I've been
No,
doing
date
this
yourself, please.
No, I don't want to date myself. It's been close to 20 years now. So, or over 20 years actually. And, I've worked with some really strong brands and it's been great. And, I think what, Hilton Grand Vacations is doing is amazing with adding more properties and extra benefits for our membership and really transforming our go-to-market strategies.
So going back 20 years to when you had your first experiences in vacation ownership, walk us through how you've seen them evolve over those 20 years. And then what separates Hilton from the pack?
I'll go back actually before my 20 years and say this industry was founded on like you had mentioned earlier, right? That people come back pretty much to the same destination every year, or they may every once in a while, what we call exchange to a different property. But fast forward now to 2025, what we're seeing is a lot of individuals join the organization for a small percentage of the time to come back to that property that we met them at or we saw them at. Most of the time, use all of our properties in the system, and even more so now, use the benefits and experiences that the big companies are providing. So like here at Hilton Grand Vacations, we have service and opportunities where our members can go on cruises, they can stay in Hilton hotels, they can do guided travel experiences. There's so many different things they can do now with their membership and stay at some of our partner hotels. So it's really, really evolved to give just that, I said it earlier, right? That wide spectrum of vacation opportunities.
I didn't actually know that you could walk us through all the different channels that you can do. You mentioned cruise hotels, partner hotels. So how does that, like, again, taking that family from a suburb of Chicago, they're like, hey, you know what, let's consider this. How do you onboard them and educate them to all the different options and kind of just walk us through so that we can better understand how that works?
Yeah, the one thing I always encourage people to think about is the diversity in the vacation experiences, right? So don't think of it as linear. Like there's just so many different ways and verticals in this business where you can, in our company, where you can experience different things. So, and it's very important to demystify that belief of, well, I've got to come back to Orlando every year for the rest of my life. No, that's not true. As a matter of fact, a very small percentage of our members come back every year to that specific destination. They use our portfolio. They'll use, some of our partner hotels or companies that we leverage. We have the Hilton Hotel franchise and chains that we leverage for room nights. We have relationship with cruise companies. We have travel companies that other different experiences they can do. I mentioned earlier, right? We have excursions and guided trips they can go on. We have partnerships with many great companies like Great Wolf Lodge. We, recently announced in 2024 with the acquisition of Blue Green Vacations, our partnership with Bass Pro, which has some great properties across the Midwest. So there's just so much they can do, right? We even have an events platform where our members can, book vacations, come down and experience some of our events.
So I want to go back to me sitting around with my friends and them glowing about these experiences that they've had over the past 20 years and how they look forward to it every year. As their kids are getting older, they're bringing their kids, right, and having these great memories and creating these great memories. How, from like a design or even product availability perspective, as those kids who are now in high school get older, college, and start having kids after college or whenever, and so they become multi-generational, how can the ownership track, or how does the ownership track with someone like Hilton Grand Vacation evolve with families as they become multi-generational?
Yeah, it's really important. I'll use a personal story. My kids, I've had the privilege to experience some of the great destinations here at Hilton Grand Vacations. And I'll have sometimes though we have to stay in a hotel and they'll walk in and go, wait, we're not staying at Hilton Grand Vacations. It's just a regular hotel room. And listen, those hotels are great. They do a great job, but it's that, that's a good reminder of experiences these kids have had growing up in this product. But, for our families, when parents have younger children that grow up in this product and then become older, and then their vacation lifestyle changes, we see that they often come see us and want to make a change in their portfolio, maybe add on some more product and do different types of vacations, smaller stays, better destinations across the world. I often say I see their scope increase, right? So they go from these family vacation destinations, Orlando, Myrtle Beach, Hawaii, many other destinations, and they start going broader when the kids are up and older and out of the house, and they go to Europe or may go to Mexico more often, Cabo San Lucas, St. Martin, etc. Right? And then when the kids start having kids, they come back to those family destinations and they relive the memories they had with their children. So I often say we don't talk about that enough, right? We don't talk about that cycle, like your friends, right? Their anticipation to go every year and have those experiences with their children. And that's going to transcend with their children to their children. And, look, we have to face the reality at some point. Even me as a father won't be here with my children, but they'll have those memories and those lifestyles to hold on to, and ultimately the product to use that reminds them of their parents and share their experiences now with their children and their children. So I like to educate people and say, we get tied up on, the financials and the commitment up front to become a member, but you're not looking at the long term, 20, 30, 40 years from now, which people are experiencing today, all the memories they have, which is really the most important thing.
And then on the financial side, so if I wanted to buy a timeshare, there's basically that upfront cost of what it costs, and I'm sure you can finance that or just buy it. And then there's the annual maintenance or resort charges. I don't know what you call them, but walk us through what that looks like.
Yeah, there's an upfront purchase, and that varies by member, right, or guest that comes in, depending on how much they want to travel or how little they want to travel. So they get to customize their package for their needs and their financial needs as well, too. And then there is the annual maintenance fees, but the maintenance fees go through a myriad of things, right? They go for operating expense, reserves for the resorts. That's why we maintain such high levels of standards for our resorts and our brand. We also have, QA inspections on our resorts regularly to make sure they're at that standard and that they are maintained the way that people expect them to be maintained. Listen, nobody wants to visit a resort or check into a room that is not at a certain level or above. So we take on that obligation on behalf of the HOA associations. So each resort has a homeowners association, so to say, and those board members review the budgets annually and go through the approval process. And we make sure we're meeting our commitments to those boards.
Hey, everybody. We've been doing this podcast for over 3 years now. And one of the themes that consistently comes up is sustainability. And I'm just really proud to announce that our sponsor, Berman Falk Hospitality Group, is the first within our hospitality industry to switch to sustainable and recyclable packaging, eliminating the use of styrofoam. Please check out their impact page in the show notes for more info.
I go in back to my family, my wife and I bought a house in Fire Island, I don't know, a couple of real estate cycles ago. And through those real estate cycles as a family, there's been some hard, challenging times, right? And we're like, you know what? At all costs, we need to keep this house, because as our kids grow, we jokingly say, whether they like us or not, they're still going to have a draw. They're going to still want to come and have vacations with us as they get older and have boyfriends and girlfriends and kids. And it's this shared family memory that's magnetic, right? They're always going to want to come back and create this sense of place. If you were to kind of draw a bell curve of the distribution of your average owner through Hilton Grand Vacations, does it mirror that, like a young family starting, or is it more grandparents that are like, hey, I want to create this thing for my kids? Or what's the life cycle and legacy that is typical? And what are some other life cycles and legacies that potential owners may not have thought about?
Well, I think you nailed one of them, right? You're so passionate about keeping that house on Fire Island because it's the memories that you guys hold and cherish dearly as a family, right? And your kids probably remember that house and all the vacation experiences you've had so far, but oftentimes can't remember their birthday gift from 2 years ago. So that tells you the impact, right, of something like that. For us, when you look at the distribution, You know, I gotta be honest with you, Dan, it's all over the place now. It's great to see. We recently held a GM summit this year, and we brought in some of our members, and we purposely brought in, you know, a baby boomer member who uses it a very specific way and gets many vacations out of it every year because, you know, he was retired and he loves the product. And then we brought in a Gen X, and, you know, just coming into the product, and, you know, not married with kids yet, and just really thinking about it and doing some vacations. And then we had a millennial come in who, no kids, works from home, travels, works from all the resorts, goes a couple of days here. So it's so unique by member. I can't even express it enough that that's what I love about this industry. You get to empower, and you know, I say vacation ownership in the sense of you take ownership over your vacation, of how much you want to travel and what you want to do. So when you look at a bell curve, I would say the only thing I would say is there's outliers, right? There may be, you know, members that are just buying it now to hold on to it for life and use it. And then there's other members that are just retiring and looking forward to another 10, 15, 20-year run of vacation. So, but in the middle, there's just such a mix of diversity of membership and people using it. And I love that.
And then let's just say let's go to that boomer example, the baby boomer. So they're in their 70s or 80s, right? And then let's say if they pass away, they can take that ownership and make their children beneficiaries, multiple children, one child. Is there some sort of, how does that chain of custody evolve as the family evolves?
You know, it just depends on the member. So a lot of members will put in their will and their trust to you know, take X amount of ownership and split amongst their kids, or maybe if that one kid give it to a kid. And, you know, look, and sometimes the next generation doesn't want the membership, and we'll work with those families to make sure we take care of them, and that they're not, you know, having to inherit or be obligated to something they're not going to use or they don't want. But oftentimes we find, you know, to the discussions we had a few minutes ago, that, you know, families grew up with this, and it's important, and it's a way to remember those relatives. And, you know, for me, like, I went to a lot of vacation destinations I went to as a kid, Virginia Beach, for example, and took my kids there and showed them where I rode bikes on the beach with my parents and their grandparents who have now passed, where we went to get ice cream and different things like that. And so a lot of our members want to relive that with their families, and it's nostalgic, and you can't really put a price on that.
And then let's say again, that family, or the matriarch or patriarch of the family, who's a baby boomer, maybe 10, 15 years ago, they bought a 2 or 3 bedroom timeshare that their family could come stay at. And as the family grows, is it easy? I guess easy is relative. Is it possible for other family members to get a unit next to where they are as their families expand and contract, and well, hopefully expand? But do you have any stories that you can share that highlight that?
Yeah, and you just nailed the true member story, right? So a member might start off with a small purchase for enough points to book a studio or 1 bedroom. Then they have kids, and what do you think happens next? They go to the 2 bedroom, and then they may have more kids and they'll go to a 3 bedroom, or they may have that 2 bedroom and then later on in life upgrade to a 3 bedroom because they have grandkids. So there's those stories. And then we also have unique unit types that you can connect, and, you know, put the kids in one unit, you'll be in the other unit, and you can open the doors and have a large unit. So it just, again, goes back to how families want to use it and shared stories, right? I mean, I think of the Watson family, who I meet often every year at Christmas, and they come down, and just in the 4 years I've been meeting them, they went from a couple of different properties and products to now they have like 5 or 6, and they use it differently in each market. And, you know, I remember saying, Bill, like, well, how much do you want? He's like, well, it's how many kids want to travel with us? How many grandkids want to travel with us? Nobody's saying no to a free vacation. I thought that was a great statement, because I was like, well, listen, if you're asking me to go for free, I wouldn't mind going with you. But look, they've had some really, really great experiences. And, you know, they often talk about getting up there in age, and this is the most important thing to do. Look, it's a common thread, right? Kids get older, they get busy. I'm going through it now as a father. My son's off at college. I see him a couple of times a year. He comes home when he can. So when we're together, we want to spend really meaningful, enriching time with our kids and go do something. And have great experiences. And for me, it's been really great to rely on Hilton Grand Vacations to provide that for my family.
If a family is not able to use their unit in a year, can they enter into a rental pool, or are there other economics that people who might be considering this should consider?
Yeah, very rarely do we see members want to rent it, right? They don't want to give away what they can use. So they can bank their points into the next year and they can roll it forward, so to say, right? So they can get more vacations or do something different. They can exchange it into the Hilton system to have points for hotel stays in the future. There's a lot of different options they have as members.
Hmm. Um, Interesting. So, but when you said earlier, it's like, hey, if the thing I could say is just come down and check it out. If you're not an owner of a Hilton Grand Vacation Club, you can still find it on an OTA or through a website and
Mhm.
go and rent a unit and try it out and then kind of experience it firsthand. Is that what you meant by that's the best way to experience it?
There's a couple of different ways. A lot of our business is through people who rent availability that we have when we do have availability at our resorts. Then there's open product or we have unsold inventory we're still going through. We open up for rental, or we sell packages as well too. And I'll give some information towards the end of the podcast where people can reach out to us or myself and inquire about that. But we have lots of different channels which individuals can engage with us on.
Going back, I want to go back to that bell curve distribution of properties. Like, what is the best performing property in your portfolio?
Well, there's over 200 of them. So off the top of my head, I don't have the exact one, and I don't want to pick a favorite. But look, all of our resorts do really well with our stay scores. Financially, we have some really great resorts that we've sold some really great inventory in, and the HOA financials are solid. We do a really good job of providing some good retail opportunities for our members on property. So all of our resorts are very, very, very well.
And then if you were to think about a one bedroom, a 1 week, one bedroom, I based on location, that's probably directly correlated to the amount that you would pay. What on
Sure.
the highest end, what's the most premium that you have out there out of your 200?
Well, I mean, obviously we have like a 3-bedroom penthouse in Hawaii and Waikiki overlooking the ocean.
Mm.
We've got 1-bedroom penthouses in New York City at the historical Quinn, which is one of our greatest properties. All of our properties in New York are fantastic. We've got some exceptional product in Charleston, Las Vegas. I mean, I can keep going on and on. Cabo San
Wow.
Lucas, Orlando. It's all over the map. So it just really depends where people look. I always say, if you're going to go to Hawaii every other year, every 3 years, or on a regular enough basis to want to own in Hawaii and buy in Hawaii, you should do that. If you're not concerned about that, you want to just travel around, you should buy the best package that gets you the most points for what you can afford, because that's the difference between the vacation lifestyles. And we do have members that go back to Hawaii every single year. Hawaii for sure is probably the most demanded destination in our portfolio, but a lot of other destinations right behind it. So people have to make that decision, right? Whether they want to go on a regular basis, these destinations, or they want to just travel through our system. And many of our members do both.
And so those were like some city and beach experiences that you were sharing. What about for
Mhm.
those who are like winter sports families?
We've got great product. We've got Park City. We've got Breckenridge. We've got Gatlinburg, Tennessee, Vermont. Canada. We've got some amazing properties in Canada. If you want to travel through the Midwest, we've got some great properties in Branson, Springfield, Missouri, Williamsburg, Virginia. Look, as a kid, I went to Williamsburg all the time. I took my family there and showed them historic Williamsburg, and they were like, "This is amazing." We had a great time. So there's just so much to do.
And then on the winter side of things, um, I know you mentioned Park City, Breckenridge, Canada. Um,
Lake Tahoe's another one.
oh,
Forgot about
good.
that one.
What's the overall, well, actually not limited to winter sports, but as far as new product coming into your portfolio, what does the pipeline look like currently or over the next 5 years? How are you adding a lot of spots? Where are you guys focusing?
So we don't share what's on the horizon until we know for sure we're at that point. But yeah, we just announced not too long ago that we have some new product coming in Hawaii and Waikiki. Some of our by Hilton Club product, which is our upscale product. We also went international and announced a new project in Kyoto, Japan, really recognizing the historical feel of Kyoto, and it's going to be an amazing property.
Cool.
So right now, those are the two main ones on the horizon. And look, we want to know where our members want to go. So as new markets emerge, new markets open up, or we identify markets we're underserved, we want to provide that experience to our members.
Mm. Um, in your role, you mentioned you get really good feedback from just being on property and talking to people like the Watson family you just shared, and also surveys. And I think there was a third channel. But if you were to go back over the past, let's say 60 days, 60 or 90 days, what are one or two great examples of the best possible feedback you've gotten through the survey channel?
Yeah, so our third one was our team members.
Team members.
Yeah, the survey channel, we monitor it heavily, and look, we got to take both sides of it. And we hear a lot of great things about our unit conditions, our unit quality, our accommodations, our resort experiences, our team member interaction, our team member engagement. And on the service side, our members need a little bit of help servicing their membership, right? Where to go on the webpage. So coming off 2 acquisitions, we're consolidating technology systems. So sometimes some of our members get lost in between those systems, and we reach out to them immediately and educate them and try to help them navigate their membership. So that's great feedback, because we don't want anyone to be out there and not know what's going on, or if there's something in our systems that we're not aware of that needs to be tweaked. So that's such rich and important feedback for our organization.
I'm so sorry I forgot the third, which is probably the most important one, because
There is.
yeah, right, being Newsweek's most loved workplaces that we talked about earlier. How does because I know like Hilton in general and in Hilton Grand Vacation, it's ranked as a top place to work by many different metrics. And I always find it amazing how large companies can continually get those accolades. What does that do? How does that improve the quality of team member that comes inbound to you when they see things like that? How do you use that for, I guess, recruiting and retention as well for your employees?
Look, we're so lucky to have such a great team member base. I can't say that enough. And you're right. It is the most important channel for feedback. But it's a really proud moment when our team members bring in their friends and family and loved ones to come work here. And what a better way to start off your first day or enter the organization with that excitement to work for a company with such accolades that we have. And the other thing I tell people too, Dan, candidly, is you got to be pretty excited to show up to a place that puts people on vacation, right? And helps people experience what they experience with us. We're really blessed and lucky to be able to do what we do every day and change people's lives. So we want team members that want to come here and be part of that too.
And I know it's Hilton Grand Vacations. And I just have a hard time separating that from an actual hotel, right?
I know, we deal with it all the time. I get it.
It's awesome to hear like everyone's there on vacation. It must be a totally different mindset, because I'm thinking someone's in town for a conference or whatever. I'm sure you do have some business travel,
Very small.
but it's like what percent of that?
I mean, think about this. I would say low single digits, 4 to 5% of our rental business is business travel. Not very small percentage of our membership travel is probably business travel, but I do want to twist that a little bit. What our members do like is having a larger unit accommodations with the work from home model now, that look, they can come on vacation and still work from home technically in the unit and shut down whenever they want and go enjoy the resort with their family, be in the pool by noon or 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, and go explore whatever destination they're in. So that's been really, really powerful for us in the last several years.
Oh yeah, that is interesting. And then is there what would the measurable increase be in that distribution of type of client or type of owner who post COVID, like what kind of growth did you see in that segment?
We don't really measure it directly from a percentage standpoint. We just rely on our members to share that feedback with us. And, it goes back to one of the team member feedback opportunities is coming right out of COVID. I would say probably late 20, early 2021, we heard a lot of team members saying, hey, this is a kind of funny story. We need to increase our bandwidth on the Wi-Fi at the resorts because a lot of people are logging on and working from home, right? Working in the units. And so that's been really great. Or people may need like, a little small desk or something to put their device on. They didn't want to use it or whatever it may be. So it just depends whatever they were planning to do. But again, that's what the benefit of the larger units is. If you're in a 1-bedroom unit, you can go in the 1-bedroom side or the family room side and work from home, or the 2-bedroom, you can split it, or 3-bedroom, in some cases 4 bedrooms. So it's worked out really well for us.
I want to circle back to the most loved workplaces accolade again. If you were to think about, is there any type of practice or something culturally that you do at Hilton Grand Vacations that you think would be an outsized or overweight contributor to winning that most loved workplaces or being awarded that most loved workplaces accolade from Newsweek? Is there any kind of a practice, a habit, I don't know, something? Is there something tactical
Sure.
that you guys are doing that really contribute heavily to that?
Well, I would say this: it's not a strategy or a tactic. It's a core tenet of who we are, and it's called put people first, right? And we take care of our people. Again, it goes back to a really powerful mix of some ingredients, which is obviously we're in the hospitality business. We want to be genuine and authentic as a leadership team and as an organization. And we really want to understand the breadth and scope in which we operate. And there's a lot of team members across the globe now. So we have to understand all their needs and challenges at times and realize there's unique individuals that work for us every day. And we have the obligation to them to take care of them because they're taking care of our people. So, obviously you can see for me, it's a passion for us and it's really important. And we're all very approachable to our team members. And that's important. That's why I like to get out in the areas and talk to them because they're going to tell me what they need or what people need. And that's, it's important to act on that too. So, it's putting the people first, taking care of our people and acting on it. Not easy to do sometimes, but it's simple formula.
Yeah, sometimes well, that's one of the things I found with Hilton in particular is, it's not like you can put with like a Hilton Grand Vacation, you could say put people first on the wall in the conference room or in the lunchroom, but it's so much more than just a poster in a break room, right? And like how Hilton calls all the back of, like everyone else calls it back of house, they call it heart of house, and I think that it really is putting the people first, and it's changing your language and your culture to be able to do that. You mentioned Kyoto and Waikiki, so some new product coming on. For the existing product that's out there, what kind of to keep things fresh? So you buy an apartment or a unit, and then after 20 years of lots of people using it and things degrade, how do you keep? Is there a certain renovation cycle, or how do you address like keeping everything fresh and new?
Yeah, and that goes back to your question earlier about the maintenance fees, right? So they're it's like run like an HOA, and so they're on renovation cycles, and the renovation cycles include soft goods and hard goods every certain amount of years. And so mix that with our brand standards and our expectations we want to deliver on for our member base. It's very important piece of the business that we operate under. So we take sincere interest in understanding the materials, the design, what we're trying to bring to life in the region as well too. Like for our product coming on in Waikiki, you'll see it's called Kahaku. You'll see it's a really great blend and mix of, the soul of the islands mixed with some traditional Japanese elements. Obviously, Kyoto is tied to the city, which is extremely rich in history with Japan. And then you go to New York City, you'll see some of those elements pulled in. Chicago, Sedona, Scottsdale. We really try to create the ambiance of the region that we operate in.
And then as far as when a new product comes on, is it an expectation for a new owner that you'd get a renovation after a certain number of years, or does it vary from property to property?
All the properties are on a cycle or a renovation cycle. So, the new products just start on that renovation cycle. When they hit that X amount of years, they're up for their soft good or hard good renovation. And existing properties have been around for 15, 20 years. I've already probably been through 2 or 3 cycles. So just depends on each property.
Interesting. Is there anything else that you would like to share to someone who maybe hasn't considered or would be maybe considering a Hilton Grand Vacations or timeshare option in their life for their family and their legacy?
Yeah, I would share it not just for that individual, but just for everybody, right? And I share it with my teams as well too. Look, life is short. We all know that. We were talking earlier about how we can't believe we're already in July in 2025, and soon we'll be anticipating the arrival of 2026. So I think we should all take a lesson from how fast time goes by, and prioritize spending time together and really experiencing great things in life. And we provide an incredible product and vehicle to do that. So I think it's something everybody should consider, whether it's with us or someone else, and put those as a top priority in life.
Yeah. Love that. And then if you could think of like the changing customer needs that you've seen over the past 20 years, what are some trends? And I know we talked about it from the multi-generational perspective, but are there any other trends that you're seeing for the new timeshare customer?
Absolutely. I mean, I would say not just the new timeshare customer, but the ones that have owned for a long time or become members for a long time. Look, they have a lot of resources and a lot of education at their fingertips. And I think the world has shrunk, meaning it's easier to access and get to. So is information. People want more. They want variety. And I'm very proud to say Hilton Grand Vacations has been at the top of that curve to provide that experience and variety to our customers and our guests. And so it's really exciting to see where we are today, but more exciting to see where we're going in the future.
Mm. Well, this has been really awesome for me because I really know nothing or knew nothing about timeshares and vacation ownership. So now I'm like I'm intrigued. I'm like making a list of all these places I want to look at.
Well, I want you to come down to Orlando because I'm here, and then experience it, and I'll meet you for a cup of coffee, and we'll chat.
I'd love that. That would be super cool. If any of our listeners or watchers wanted to learn more, what's a good way for them to learn more about Hilton Grand Vacations and timeshares in general?
Yeah, listen, first thing I'll say is anyone can reach out to me and look me up on LinkedIn and ask me any question or anything they want, and I'm happy to help them. And always go to HiltonGrandVacations.com. You get a lot of information there. You see our destinations, learn some educational tools about membership, and just really how great of a company we are.
Awesome. Well, I just want to thank you for your time and expertise and experience and sharing it with all of our listeners. I really appreciate it, Derek, very much. So thank you.
Well, listen, I got to thank you for the opportunity to share our story. That's more important. So you do a great job, and I'm really proud to be here today.
Thank you. And also, I'd be remiss without thanking all of our listeners, because without you, I wouldn't be here talking to awesome people and learning so much about an element of hospitality and our industry that I hadn't really considered. So now I feel more informed, and I don't know, it just helps me be a better fan of all the different channels of experiences that are available out there. So thank you to the listeners. And if this changed your idea of what hospitality is all about, please pass it along. We grow by word of mouth. And thank you. And we'll check you next time.